Welcome back to the Alight podcast, formerly Humans and Earth. Today we're exploring what is it like to transition from a career in the hair and beauty industry to life as a shaman and healer. My guest today, Shan Massucco, has a really interesting story of how her gifts and skills developed over time and how it feels now to really be living and operating as her whole self. Welcome, Shan. I'm excited to talk to you today.
And thank you so much, Chara, for having me as a guest today. I'm truly honored to be here.
So tell us about what experiences brought you to the type of work you're doing today. I definitely don't know a lot of details about your earlier decades of work and contribution. I know that you worked in the hair care industry and maybe also the beauty and styling industry, that you lived in the Northeastern US, raised children, and now you're in New Mexico working as a shaman and healer. Tell us how all of this unfolded over time.
Yes, of course. It was not a straight line, obviously. But I will say, just to preface it all, that where I am now, as you said, is utilizing every part of myself. And I know a lot of people are waking up to this on our planet right now, in our reality right now. People are tired of the grind, tired of not being fulfilled, and tired of honestly not listening to that inner voice. So, as everyone else, it's not easy to wake up and recognize that there's more to this reality than just what we can see and touch. I will say that I've been seeing and hearing since I'm 5 years old, the earliest recollection. And then, of course, we change our opinion or our perspective as we get a little older, trying to conform to what society or our culture wants us to be and how they want us to act. So I have the fortunate ability of having a little bit louder inner voice than most people, I think. But that being said, I still am very stubborn, and it took me a while to land where I am right now, which I guess is really right on time. So earlier in my career, I went to college. I did an undergraduate in political science and a minor in history. I received two masters in business, one in regular business and one in entrepreneurship, and also explored law. Never finished my law degree, but early on I did dabble in law and lived in Washington, and as an intern worked for the U.S. Attorney's Office. So yes, I started out there and then realized quickly my inner voice was telling me that I have an intellectual side, which that whole career would satisfy, but I also had a creative side. So then I switched gears, and I decided that I loved the creativity in the beauty and hair industry, which I also was part of because it's how I made money to put myself through college. So I was doing hair and makeup, and then decided early on, after that year in Washington, that that was not the place for me. And so I moved on to opening up my own business as an entrepreneur, really still utilizing my gifts in a way, because I was working with people one-on-one as they were sitting in my chair, and not realizing that I was also working on their energy field. I've always been a caretaker and been somebody that likes to help people. I never really recognized on a conscious level that I was actually channeling at the chair and working on people's crowns until I started to step into this space that I am in now. So fast forward, I started to receive very dramatic, I think I want to say guidance or urges, visions, And I started to really say, I better pay attention to this because it is something that I can't ignore. So the first awakening I want to say I had was when I was 32 and I was living the life, having a full hairdressing business up and running with people working for me and raising my 2 and 3 year old at the time. And I had a near death. I suffered a pulmonary embolism while I was driving in the car with my kids, and it dislodged, and I had a heart attack and a stroke. And so that was a big day for me that changed the trajectory of my life. I spent, 2 years, I would say, trying to get myself back to where I was, being able to walk and talk. I did suffer some effects from the stroke, but ultimately I fully recovered. But really, this changed the trajectory of my life in a dramatic way because I am stubborn and I guess I wasn't waking up. And so that really made me wake up. And so then after that, I went through another, we all suffer through um, different things in our lives that are helping us to change our trajectory or our path. Is how I look at it now. All the things that have happened in my life really were preparing me for this stage that I'm in now. So I don't look at anything negatively. Um, I really see that everything that I experienced up until this point has been to prepare me for what I'm doing now and the work I'm doing with people and the planet. So I did go through a divorce. And then after that experience and getting my kids settled in college and in their lives, I recognized that it was time for me to really listen and to start a new chapter. So when I said yes and said, yes, I'm ready for a new chapter and would like to go in a different direction, I started to receive visions and messages and really tune into my intuition, which every human being has these abilities. It's just how much are you paying attention to it? So I started listening to these urges or guidance or the divine, whatever way you see it as for yourself. That's the way I see it. And so I was guided. The first message was kind of funny, and it was, why are you hiding behind the hair? And my answer, because I'm stubborn and I'm Italian, is I'm just doing my job. I'm not hiding, I'm doing my job. But then one thing led to another, and I was doing an energy medicine class, and then my abilities as a channeler came in all of a sudden. And so I started to recognize that I needed to stand more in listening for messages, but then also living in this reality, which is kind of a space that we all come to that we have to sort of step into and learn how to stand in both places, but still be normal. So I started to become very open with these experiences. And then people in my everyday life started to say to me, I'm experiencing that too. Can you help me? How did you learn how to do this? And so then I started to help people in that way. And I started to do healing and hair at the same time. And then I did have to get certified and do 100 healings before I could get certified. So I worked with a lot of my existing clients as a hairdresser, then transitioning into doing these healings. And then it started to show up in a much more dramatic way. I was able to give information to people that I didn't know myself about them. It was all channeled information, and it was helping them wake up into their own brilliance. So then this all shifted, and I got the message in December of 2019 that I was going to be starting a new chapter and that I was going to be letting go of my 35-year career as a hairdresser, which was really scary to me. but I just said, okay, I'm going to treat this as an adventure and I'm just going to listen and I'm going to follow the little breadcrumbs, because if I look at this in a bigger way, it's terrifying, which happens to a lot of us. So
Oh,
I just
yes.
started following the little steps. And then I started saying, yes, I'm ready for this new chapter, and show me the way. And how am I going to dismantle this 35-year-old career where I adore all of my clients because I knew them for so many years. And I also experienced, deaths and weddings and christenings and, you know, major life events with this group of people. So it was not an easy decision. But then COVID hit. And then that was a message in itself. And I was at a crossroads. Am I going to wait this out and then reboot my career as a hairdresser? Or am I going to answer the cue or the calling and go into just the healing and let the hairdressing go? And so then I decided to let the hairdressing go. And then every step of the way, I was taken care of. I had a virtual practice because a lot of people had come to me in person and they were experiencing a lot of benefits, which I was really excited about. And then it became virtual. I told them, if you don't like it, the way this shows up virtually, then I will just give you your money back. Um, and then it turned into a virtual practice for the time that COVID existed. And then I was guided to move to Taos, New Mexico, through a series of events that I won't go into, but synchronicities just continued to show up. And then my abilities kept on coming in stronger and stronger. And then the results from this were getting stronger with people. And so I landed here 5 years ago and never looked back. And it's been the best decision I've ever made. Was it easy? No. I jumped off a big ledge and didn't know where I was going to land and if I was going to be taken care of financially. But it's a funny thing when you start listening to your inner guidance and that small voice. You land in a better place than you ever could have imagined for yourself. It is on a whole other level. So recently, I've been working with a lot of clients, um, even like yourself, who have decided to fully stand in their abilities and step into a new space and maybe doing something very different that you never thought of. And one of my gifts is being able to look at somebody's field and say, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or, this person is in your life and you thought that it was only this relationship, but this is an opportunity for you to do something different. And so I have a mentor and have had a mentor because, believe me, I could not have done this only by myself. So I now am turning around and helping people do this, step into a new place. I have somebody that was on Wall Street for 40 years who is now doing something completely different, and stepping into a new space and being able to live an abundant life, even though they're not on Wall Street. It's funny how it shows up in a different way. I have another person that is leaving the tech industry to do something completely different. She has this other side of her where she's written books about the activity of the brain and spirituality, and she learned it by knowing the patterns in technology. So these are just, a few examples of when you're urged, there is a better place for you to land. You don't have to stay in the thing that you were in for so long. We're being urged to step in a new place. And then therefore that helps humanity and Mother Earth because it's a ripple effect energetically. So that was a roundabout way to answer how I stepped into this. I had a lot of help and just really listening and really training myself to listen to that small voice from my heart center and leave the mind or the ego, um, is the training too that I learned, and then I help other people. So what I would like to close with, which is a kind of a funny way of explaining this whole transition. I have a daughter who is a psych nurse, and she's a nurse practitioner, an NP. She's worked very hard to get where she is. And so when I went to her to explain to her what I was doing, she was living with me in my house. And this was a big change for my child, for me to try to put this into words that would appeal to her. So she didn't think that I was going off the deep end, if you will. And so I always tell this story through her eyes. And so after I gave her all the information and told her what I was thinking and all the guidance I had received, she said to me, "Okay, Mom, so let me get this straight. You are hearing voices," and she's a psych nurse, "that are telling you to dismantle a 35-year-old career that is very lucrative and leave a place, New York or New Jersey, that you have grown up and built your whole life and all your family and friends are here, to move to a town that you have never heard of because you're going to be working with the indigenous on the land, and you're going to be working with people going through major life events and trauma as a healer. And you're leaving your daughter here in New Jersey, and you're an Italian mother, and that's not what you're supposed to be doing." So in a word, I said, yes, actually, that's about right. And so she ended with, "I'm vacillating between going with the flow or putting you away, Mom, because this is crazy." Um, but in the end, for my family and also for all of my clients and my friends, because I took this step for myself, it really did model something, and it did create a ripple effect for everything around me. So if you're on the fence on making this leap, just know for yourself it's going to be amazing. But then what I didn't understand or didn't realize is the ripple effect out in my community, my friends, my family, and my clients from my old job. It just in a whole new way. So I just say yes,
I love
even
that
if
you
it's
shared
scary.
that. Yes. Well, and there are like 50 things I want to ask you about. That was such a fantastic narrative and so intriguing. But I really appreciate how you emphasized that we are continually giving one another permission, whether we're giving one another permission to harm other people and the earth, because that's what our culture says is okay, or we're giving one another permission to be soulfully authentic. We are constantly giving one another permission, even when we don't realize it. And so just to hear you emphasize how your family and your clients and friends were positively impacted by your leaps of faith is really important and beautiful, I think. So as I said, there are all kinds of things I want to ask you about, but here's where I think we should go in service to our listeners. Can you talk more about what people can do if they're having some level of what you just experienced? And I specifically want you to focus in on making that transition from being mind-led to heart-led, because whether people are going to stay in the career, lifestyle, and location they are in, which of course many people are going to do, or whether they're going to adjust or up level, but kind of stay in something like their current circumstances, or make really radical career, relationship, and location changes like you did, more and more people are getting these inklings, this discontent, this awareness that all is not right in our world, and our world needs a lot of transformation. And happily, there are so many teachers, books, healers, even medical professionals who are giving people tools for what do you do if you're feeling this sense of unrest or calling. But I think you zeroed in on what is actually the most fundamental thing to do, which is to start recognizing the difference between where your mind is leading and where your heart is leading, and continually test out letting the heart lead. So tell us either how you learned that and what worked for you to learn that, because it's a pretty big transition for people living in westernized, industrialized cultures, or if you want to just focus on what you recommend to people. Either way you want to approach that, but
Yeah.
how do we transition?
Yeah. So two things. Everybody's transition is very different. Some people are guided to make a small transition within what they're doing, right? So an example would be, I have a person that's in right now in the tech industry, a different person, and they're like, they had an awakening. And so their purpose is not to leave that industry. Their purpose is to tap into all of these messages they're getting and start to operate on that more intuitively aligned place, which is heart centered, right? So all he's doing is changing his behavior. And now within his business, within where he's working, his employment, it's not his own business, there is a ripple effect because he's shining a light, right? He's raising his vibration to a place where it is automatically affecting people around you. So for instance, in real life, are you going to show up in a happy, positive place and concentrate on that? Or are you going to concentrate on negative Nelly and just be, oh, woe is me, all of this is wrong, I'm miserable. So most of what I do is bring people to awareness, right? And so I would say a helpful step is raising your awareness. So just being aware of how you are in your life, and are you operating from negative thought patterns or positive ones? And so it's it's really not that hard to make a switch, to make a different choice. But first you have to be aware, right? So you, by doing this podcast, is waking people up to the awareness. We all can be aware, more aware. Just going out in your life today and saying, I'm going to be aware of the animals that are all around me that I've not been aware of before. One of the easiest things that I teach people is become aware of spirit animals. Now, I know sometimes it sounds woo-woo, but once you do this, all of a sudden, a multitude of animals are just going to show up in your field. So for instance, I tell people that pay attention if you see the red cardinal in the middle of the tree, or you see a squirrel that just came across your path. For me, just the other day, I'm driving to my mailbox and I had to stop because a family of quail was walking across the street. Like, are you kidding me? Like, that woke me up out of my reality. Okay, let me go look up quail totem on Google. And I received a message that I needed that answer, but I wasn't getting the message. And then because of that, I received the message. So sometimes it's the animals and the things that we're not paying attention to. We're not aware. We're so in our 3D, driving to work and listening to all the stuff on the radio and the TV and all the noise from other people's drama, where if we just take one step and say, what animals are going to show up for me today? I had two people in a session, mother, daughter, and I said, okay, let's just start with the bare minimum. What spirit animal showed up for you? They're telling me that a spirit animal showed up. Both of them are saying, no, 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 this and this. And then I said, okay, at 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning on this day. And then the daughter said, oh my God, I saw a red fox. And then the mother's like, oh my God, I saw a red fox, but later on that day. Hello, they're not aware. So until I pricked their awareness, they didn't remember because they're so in the 3D that they're not even aware of all this other reality that's going on.
Right.
And
We
that's like an
forget our,
adventure.
yeah, we forget our relationality, right? I just want to highlight that a little bit because you're
Yeah,
explaining it so well. But, you know, we think of ourselves as kind of like a single isolated individual, but we're living on this planet with plants, with animals, obviously with other people, with the planet herself, and with this entire spirit realm, divine realm that more and more of us are becoming more and more aware of. And it's all operating together. So, as you're saying, it's literally up to us. Are we going to pay attention or
right.
not?
And so we are energetic beings and we are all connected. In some of my retreats, an exercise we do, and you can just do this at home with friends or with, in your own community, holding hands and taking a moment in silence. When you do that energetically, it is scientifically proven. I don't know if anybody follows Greg Braden here, but he's a great guy to check into heart resonance and also in energetics. He's a scientist and showing us the reality of our real lives, the things that we're not paying attention to. And he does it in a scientific way, which I think is helpful to a lot of people. So it cuts out of the woo-woo and gets back into a grounded science that we are energetic beings and we're not tapping into like 85 or 90% of our abilities. So one thing is when you hold hands like that and you just go into meditation, automatically our heartbeat will beat the same level, the same resonance. And so they've done studies where they've measured people's heartbeats. And then when people hold hands, the heartbeat resonates as one. And they're not all in your own heartbeats anymore. You're in the one heartbeat. So there's all scientific proof about all of this. But when you read books or listen to people, that's one thing. But until you experience it yourself, you're not going to understand it fully. So that's why retreats and one-on-one is important. Whoever you decide, whoever you're guided to go to, whoever, there's a lot of people doing this work, including yourself. You will get answers and hands-on experience, right? Of all of these things that I'm talking about. Interestingly enough, what's coming to mind is lately I've been getting, when I'm working in session with people, I usually get spirit animals because they come in for the particular individual to deliver a message that doesn't have anything to do with my perspective, my interference. It is particularly for the person. And what's come in a lot lately is the giraffe. Everyone thinks, oh, it's going to be snake totem or owl totem or hummingbird because those are the traditional shamanic spirit animals, right? The power animals. But what's come in is the giraffe. And I asked, what does this mean for this person? Why does this keep coming in for particular people? This same spirit animal. And the message I got was a giraffe is very grounded in this reality. They have their 4 feet and most of their body in this 3D reality, existing, eating, walking, and doing what it has to do. But then it has a long neck and head in the upper realms, which means we are now in a place in our existence and our growth as human beings to master being in this 3D reality or the matrix or whatever one wants to call it, your life, but then also practicing reaching into the ethereal, which is in meditation or yoga or even washing your dishes at the kitchen sink. You will start to, in the repetition, receive inklings or messages that maybe you don't really pay attention to, but now you're going to start paying attention to it. And then
I
this
love that.
magic happens.
Yeah, I
All of a
really,
sudden, your daily life becomes this treasure hunt. Oh, I got that message and I listened to it. And now this person came into my field and offered me an opportunity. that I probably wouldn't have paid attention to. So it's this awareness and just using it as a fun game, not as this big thing that you have to master, but just one small thing. What miracle, I always tell my people, what miracle are you going to experience today? I say, thank you for the miracle I'm going to experience today. And every day I experience a miracle. Whether it's a small little thing that somebody came into my field that I haven't seen in a while, and the smile on their face because something great happened, that is a miracle. You know, coming into communion with people that you didn't normally, that weren't normally in your network, but came in and then opened up an opportunity that you never would have thought of. And you're like, oh my God, that is so amazing. But you have to be aware. So it's really just taking a small step in awareness and sitting in stillness or appreciating somebody's smile when you're getting a cup of coffee, looking in people's eyes instead of looking down. I mean, one day I did a practice and I looked in everyone's eyes every single day. It, that alone changed my whole perspective. People are looking for connection. We've lost connection to human beings.
Yes, people are
It is
looking for
really
connection.
that simple
Yeah.
of
Well,
a
and I
step.
think what you're talking about is people are certainly looking for connection to one another. And we're also craving these other types of connection to our hearts, to our own intuitive guidance, to our spirit animals and our helpers and guides in the spirit realm. I'm really moved by your example of the giraffe coming into your sessions as a spirit animal for multiple people, partly because I'm remembering in my spring session for you, my dog came through, and that was, of course, not surprising, but really special. But I so often want to tell people right now that we're designed to be connecting points between the heavens and the earth. And wow,
Yes.
the giraffe really exemplifies that. That's so beautiful. I think what you're saying also is that this can be a gradual process of waking up or becoming more integrated. And maybe it's good for us to emphasize that because I think a lot of people feel very afraid of, what's going to happen if I start paying attention to these other sources of information. And so I wonder if you want to say anything more specifically about fear. You are certainly a model of courage, having been through a stroke in your early 30s and, significant recovery, and then not only rebuilding your life, but then essentially losing your business during COVID and starting entirely over. So you certainly have the credentials to speak to this. When people feel afraid of, can I trust my heart? Can I trust this guidance I feel like I'm receiving? Can I trust the animal totems that seem to be showing up? Can I trust the synchronicities? What do you say when
So,
people
so I, in I'll speak from my practice, not because I'm trying to sell people on coming to me, because that's not what this is about. It is more my practice unfolded. As an entrepreneur, thought that I was retiring. Honestly, when I came to Taos, I did not know that I was going to be in a business doing this. Like that was not really my thought. I knew I was going to be working with people and doing this more on the side as a hobby. But when I fully said yes, many things opened up. And the reason why I'm using my practice is because it shows up on exactly what you're talking about. And many people are doing this right now. So one of the things that showed up were retreats, like in person, one-on-one, where people are being attended to and their perspective is being opened up and they're in practice doing things so that they feel confident when they go back into their lives that they have a concrete plan, right? And that's mostly where people were making a big decision. They're going through a divorce, a passed on loved one, they're um, they're moving or they lost their job. It's like a big ticket item that they need to come in and sit, and they can be in a container where I can say, okay, you're going to be taken care of right now. I'm going to tap into all these things and give you clarity, help you have clarity because you're emotional, right? Another way that this unfolds, which is an option, is being part of a spiritual community, whether that be religious, if you're religious, or it's a spiritual community, which you and I both were part of one at several times, where it helped us with our growth, right? So I have spirit circles that opened up out of the blue. It was not my idea. It came in a message or a channel where people started saying to me, I want more access after the retreat. It was really amazing, but I want to continue that. I don't want to slump back into my old thing. And I know I need help. So there was Spirit Circles was born, where I on Zoom meet with people, and it's people that are experiencing this same thing where they're leaving not really leaving, but they're in the 3D reality. Their families don't understand that they're getting these messages and they're spiritual. And so it's a space where we can be the woo-woo that we are in this group and no one's going to judge us. And then the group atmosphere, people are sharing, oh yeah, I was in the middle of a meeting in corporate America, and then all of a sudden I saw a vision and saw the people in the vision that were at the table. And I can't really talk to my boss about that, why I think we should go in this direction, because I can't actually say, well, while we were in this meeting, I was daydreaming and I got a vision. So we talk about these kinds of things that happen to us in the spirit animals we saw, and also where we're stuck. And then the group like helps each other. Of course, I'm running it, and of course, I'm channeling, but each person starts to say, oh, I'm getting this message for you. And then that person's confidence starts to raise because they're utilizing their abilities that they didn't even realize they had in
Yes.
real time.
Yes, I really agree. I'm so glad you brought this
It
up
is so
because
important, community.
it really, really is. And it can, if somebody who's listening doesn't have a lot of disposable income right now, I taught a class this weekend and a couple of people were saying they're part of a local Reiki share. I don't think they even
Right.
spend any money on that. It's a group of people who get together, they share Reiki, they talk about these spiritual things, look for a meetup, look for whatever. There's a
Right. Or
whole
even yoga.
continuum here.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Or
It
just
doesn't have to
invite
be
your friends over for tea and spiritual conversation. But
right.
I think that what you're saying is so important. It's made a huge difference for me over the years, is to be in communities where you can have some support and you can practice whatever it is you want to
And it
practice.
becomes real.
Speaking
It
up,
doesn't
being
become
intuitive,
this,
right?
yeah, it's not an ethereal thing, and it becomes real. And I've been guided, once a month on a Wednesday locally. I do sessions all day long for people that, it's donation based. And if you can't donate anything, I don't really care because I'm being guided into service. And once a month, I do a public group healing, which is free for people to receive.
Are you doing that live in Taos or online?
It's online
Okay.
on Zoom.
Yeah.
To help offer, sorry, I'm talking so much.
No
They're telling
problem.
me, let her speak.
No, I'm happy to listen to you, but I really love what you're emphasizing, and you've listed an array of ways, and then I added some in which people can find this community and this support right now. And if you don't know quite how to find it, if maybe you think you don't know anyone who has your spiritual interests, start with YouTube. I am
Right,
so intrigued lately when I look at, I don't follow very many people, but people like Lee Harris, whom I really, really respect.
right.
the number of hits that his YouTube videos are getting, or David Clements, this really interesting Oxford, Cambridge PhD in theoretical physics, who's channeling the Arcturians, his videos are getting thousands and thousands of hits
Right, because
almost
we're all
instantly.
waking up and it resonates with people. I say, when
Yes.
you look at a YouTube, whatever resonates with you. And yes, I agree with Lee Harris, because we have to also, there's a responsibility to recommend the people that are authentic, which you're
Yeah.
doing. So Lee Harris, and another person is Pam Gregory, who is an astrologer, and she has been integral at keeping all of us, including all the healers that have stepped into this, on an even playing field and keeping us grounded and continuing to walk forward and helping people and believing in this space, right?
Yes.
Because sometimes, like my daughter, Mom, I'm vacillating between putting you away or going with the flow, because she's not experiencing what I am, and I am. And so me believing in it and understanding that it's real and it's not made up, and I'm not, you know, um, I'm psychic, I'm not psychotic, right?
Oh my gosh.
So it's helping people ground and their own abilities, helping people understand that. And specifically lately, which I think you're experiencing as well, is we're coming across people that know that they have a higher purpose and they know they must step into this next space. And I'm working with a lot of evolved beings. People are coming to me way above what I'm doing, way above my abilities. And I often say, why am I helping them? And it's because I'm the grounder, and I'm helping them ground in this reality, but then also step into this ethereal space, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
be confident in themselves,
Right.
because they really did come here to do major work this lifetime. It's this younger group of 18 to 30 that I'm working with that are highly evolved, channeling and seeing visions, more like what you're saying with people that are channeling Arcturians and
Oh, I
Pleiadians
know.
and
I know.
Lemurians.
I just worked
Yes,
with
and I
someone
am,
recently she's
yeah, they're
32
just
and totally, I mean, she's been spiritual for a long time, totally woke up this year and is channeling. And I mean,
right,
this
and
is
it's our,
happening for people at a much younger age is
yes,
an
and
interesting
we're
point.
here, you and I, to ground them and to be their biggest cheerleader, because they are helping with the new earth.
Yes.
So we're helping them stand in it, right? So
Yes.
giving people the confidence and the support to take the step and shine your light, your brilliance. Don't hide, and think that people are going to make fun of you.
Right.
We're past that point. There's a whole spiritual community where people are living this authentic self,
Yes.
right now, and it's been very
Very true.
beneficial to our communities, our earth.
Very true. Very true. And I get, as you talk about yourself as the grounder, you're also a listener. You've trained
Oh,
yourself to be willing to listen. And therefore, it doesn't matter the size of the mission of your clients, because they come to you at a point where they need someone who is wide open with the listening. I think you've spoken really beautifully too to why it's worth it to take the risk of being vulnerable with opening into your spirituality and letting other people gradually see what that is about for you. There's so much more I would like to discuss with you, Shan, but I think I'll offer you as our last discussion point for today. How do you feel now? How do you feel as a person now that you've gone through all these transitions and you have a very established business and gathering of services and ways that you're helping people? How does your life feel now?
I feel incredibly grateful, honored, and blessed, honestly, for all that has unfolded in this last 5 years, a very short time. I always tell people, if this was up to Shan, the human being, it would not look anything like this. It would not be successful, it would not. I mean, I just defer to spirit and say thank you. And I just listen and I honor what I'm being given. And I just walk that way. I know I was in a past life, I was a nun and a monk. So this
Well, me
lifetime,
too.
my nickname is Radical Obedience. So I do model that, and so it does help people because I'm bold and I go and do things that, if I really thought about it in my mind, I would not be doing a lot of the things I do. But I've honored it and I've walked it only by my higher self and have my ego comfortably behind. That's another practice I want to close with, is you can ask your guides to come in to assist you. If you want assistance, you must ask them to come in, and everybody has angels and guides and ascended masters and ancestors that are here to help us, because this is a big thing we're doing on this planet. So we have help, but we have to ask. And just tuning into that and asking for you to be led by your higher self with your ego comfortably behind. And that being said, I don't believe in ego death and that your ego is bad and all of the information on that, because I got guidance that every part of us is from God and every part of us is important. There's nothing that's bad. We don't have junk DNA. So our ego, really, we were supposed to be listening to it to keep us safe, but it took a bigger role, and it's our decision to reverse those roles. And it's talked about, this is the longest journey, this 18 inches from here to here. So the more you listen to your heart instead of your brain, and a way to do this is when you're making a decision, say, am I making this decision out of fear? Am I making this decision because it's what I should do and what society tells me? Those are two questions. Or am I making this decision because I'm seeing joy or happiness? I'm feeling that in my body. If you're feeling joy and happiness, it's correct. If you're feeling fear, sometimes ego is telling you to stop because they want to keep you safe. But sometimes you need to just go with your heart. If that's what originally came in, fear usually comes after you make the big decision. And that's your ego trying to make you stay small or safe. So I'll finish with that.
Given us a beautiful portrayal of your journey from maybe sometimes in your life where you were playing smaller and safer because that's what we're all told to do, to learning to listen to your heart and coming into this entirely new era of yourself, your authenticity, and your service. I just loved talking with you today, Shan. For our listeners, you can find Shan's work at shandivinehealing.com. That's SHAN divinehealing.com. I will put that link in the notes. And thank you so much, Shan, for being in conversation today.
And thank you so much for having me here on this new journey of yours and this new branding that you have stepped into. And I couldn't be more happier for you for this new journey that you're stepping into. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing as well. I'm truly honored and grateful to have been here today on your podcast. Thank you.
Thank you, Shan.